Hey folks, everything new under the sun. As we kind of gear up and slide towards what I believe is obviously the very last days, the 7 year tribulation, or the 7 year period at least, and the introduction of the Antichrist, we have this build up to war, and we will get to the edge of World War III. We will get to the edge of nuclear annihilation, as the UN Chief Guterres warned about yesterday. And if you watch the video, he basically came out and said, one wrong move, and we could be looking at worldwide nuclear annihilation as all the nukes start flying if someone makes the wrong move, a mistake, or there is some covert attack, cyber attack to trigger the release of a nuclear weapon or something, or if North Korea comes out and plants a nuclear weapon in some location that makes it look like someone else did it. We're very close to that, and so we're going to get to the precipice. We're going to get to the very edge of World War III, and then just as we're getting there, just as we're ready to declare war and everybody's heading to their bunkers, World War III, nuclear annihilation, there will be a leader, a man stand up. We know him as the Antichrist in the Bible, and he will bring peace. But what we're looking at right now is effectively a war of attrition, and I would submit to you that we are effectively in World War III. It just hasn't exploded to an overt war, and I think all of you know it, but let's take a look at a couple of things here. This is from inews.co.uk. What is a war of attrition? Well, attrition warfare is a military strategy by which one side attempts to down the enemy to the point of collapse through continuous losses in personnel and equipment. Now, that is the definition of what Russia is doing in Ukraine. That is the definition of what has been done in Syria, basically grinding, wearing down the enemy, wearing down the opponent to where they've just got nothing left. The war's gone on so long, they've drained all their money, all their resources. No one is willing to fight anymore, and that's how Russia will ultimately win in Ukraine, by doing this low-level war where no world government, no country wants to get in directly, because it doesn't look like an all-out full-scale war that requires the world to come to the rescue of the nation. Certainly the world doesn't want to, so they will take any excuse not to go to war. But that's what's happening in Ukraine, and that's what's happening in Taiwan. They're going to grind them down, and Russia has come out and said, we are at war with the United States. The United States is involved in this war. This is jpost.com. The United States is directly involved in the Ukraine war. So if the United States is directly involved in the Ukraine war, which is against Russia, that means we are effectively in World War III. Effectively, this means that NATO should then be getting involved, as it's basically Russia is effectively attacking U.S. soldiers by some sort of proxy, and that gives Russia the ability to say, we are at war against the U.S. We can strike the U.S. We can strike the U.S. mainland. We can strike U.S. supply chains because they are providing Ukraine with weapons and money. And that, would be considered a legal war move. If they're helping, aiding and abetting in terms of Ukraine and the war. I swallowed some water, I think, there. If they're aiding and abetting, then they can strike the U.S. or anybody who is helping Ukraine in this case, in terms of war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has triggered the most serious crisis in relations between Russia and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. It says, it is the Biden administration that is directly responsible for all Kiev-approved rocket attacks on residential areas and civilian infrastructure in populated areas of Donbass and other regions, which have resulted in mass deaths of civilians. All of this undeniably proves, it says, let's go back here. Russia's defense minister, headed by a close ally of Vladimir Putin, said this Vadim person, Ukraine's deputy head of military intelligence, had admitted to the Telegraph newspaper that Washington has Washington coordinates HIMARS missile strikes. That implicates, obviously, the United States directly helping Ukraine attack Russia, which everybody's kind of known. But as Russia gathers evidence, Russia is going to have the evidence to then go to the world and say, look, the U.S. is attacking us, so we're allowed to attack U.S. All of this, it said, it undeniably proves proves that Washington, contrary to White House and Pentagon claims, is directly involved in the conflict in Ukraine. And I don't think there was any question. But the whole idea is plausible deniability. That's what all the countries do these days. That's why Russia's getting away with this plausible deniability about what is actually occurring, whether you're involved, whether you're involved in doing something that is legal, whether or not the citizens of the country have invited you in. This is what the Russia has said, that the folks in the Donbass and such have said that they invited, they recognize the Donbass as a separate landmass and people. Russia recognized them, and they invited Russia in, and therefore Russia was just saving the country that they have recognized, and so this is their plausible deniability on their invasion. So, U.S. President Joe Biden has said he wants Ukraine to defeat Russia and has supplied billions of dollars of arms to Kiev, but U.S. officials do not want a direct confrontation between U.S. and Russian soldiers. This is, both sides, neither side wants this. If Russia can keep doing what they're doing and wearing down a war of attrition on Ukraine with no major foreign involvement, that works to Russia's advantage. If the U.S. doesn't have to get involved, then effectively World War III does not, quote-unquote, officially start. And no one wants World War III. So what do? They have this plausible deniability. They have this war of attrition where they're battling each other covert through proxies, providing military weapons and monies to continue these through the intermediary of the Ukrainian soldiers and war machine. Now, likewise, Taiwan China, ongoing situation. Less than half a day after Nancy Pelosi's departure from Taiwan on the U.S. Air Force plane, a large group of 27 Chinese planes breached Taiwan's air defenses. This is exactly what Russia did in Ukraine. They went across the border and then they pulled back. And so China is now doing the same. After Pelosi has left, they wouldn't do this while Pelosi is there. Because, again, they want plausible deniability. The war of attrition works. That way it doesn't look to any countries in the world that they're doing anything super bad, because it's all such low-level damage or pressure or whatever it may be. And so it's not shocking on enough to really get the governments of the world behind, against China. And just like Russia, they don't want that. They don't want open warfare. They just want to take their country, their land, whatever they're going for, without the involvement of NATO. But Chinese planes are now going across the border, the sea border with Taiwan, and incursions on their sovereign territorial waters is happening. And Taiwan hasn't responded yet. It's going to be interesting to see if there is any response at all, because that may trigger an all-out invasion or give China the excuse to say, you know what, they attacked us, we're going to attack them. So, you have this chicken and egg thing where both sides seem to be egging on the other to make a big move, and World War III won't start until one side makes a big move, and then the other side feels they have the permission then to go in with a big move, and neither side is interested in doing that. But as long as they keep moving forward and gaining, getting their own way through whatever means, Russia and China, they're going to keep moving slowly in that way, in a plausible deniability sort of situation. And again, this idea of war of attrition, slowly wear them down, slowly move troops, and slowly cause incursions which get more and more into the landmass, just like in Ukraine. Slowly, de facto, take over areas of it, and all of a sudden, in 5-10 years, whatever it may be, you effectively own that landmass. Just what happened in Crimea? Russia went in, and slowly over time, none of the world was interested in doing anything about it, and so they got that land, and now that is de facto Russian territory. So this is ongoing, but again, we see this war of attrition happening here. So very interesting stuff. And does it lead to World War III? I don't think we get to World War III. I think we get to the precipice of it. There's certainly not nuclear annihilation yet, but things will continue to get worse. The world economy will collapse. We will get to the brink of nuclear annihilation, and then this world government will come in and solve all of our problems, and most of the world will love it because they just want peace. They just want to go back to their own lives. They just want to go back to buying their McDonald's and having their Starbucks coffee and going to the beach. They don't recognize or realize that God is coming soon, that his wrath is coming to deal with the unrighteousness in this world, and that he is going to make things right, and that the time of man is coming to a close very shortly. I'll leave it there, guys. This is a very, it's just an incredible time to be alive, to look at what's happening. We are so very close to something. My timeline is not correct. No one's timeline is correct. We're taking a look at what the Bible says about the last days, and we're trying to put the pieces together and say, this could be what we're seeing. And so that's what I suspect at this point that we're seeing. And 2022 will not get any better. We ain't seen nothing yet. You've heard me say that basically every other video, if not every video, since the year started and before that. And 2022 has not gotten better. The world is more destabilized. Inflation is increasing. Poverty, famine is increasing. Droughts, storms, all sorts of things are increasing. Government control is increasing. Wars and rumors of wars, just like spoken of in Matthew 24 and Luke 21 and other locations. These are all increasing, and in frequency and intensity. All these things are increasing. So get prepared. The main thing is that you know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. He died and rose again 2,000 years ago for my sin and your sin. He's coming back soon to judge the planet, but he told us what we should expect to see in this world before he comes: complete chaos, war, depravity, sinfulness, wickedness, and a world government with a world leader who deploys a mark of the beast system where no man can buy or sell save he that has the mark, and that is coming very quickly.